We're 2 months of 2026 down already, so it's time for another quick and easy slab of algorithm-friendly recommendation content. February went really well for me, so I've had no trouble getting a pretty sizable list, and the top end has started to get some separation from the general filler stuff as well, so things are starting to look up for the year, even if there definitely is some room for some big hitters to come. Since my preferred styles have started to ramp up production a bit, my listing has gotten a little bit more curated now, which has led to me getting the list here very easily. I would have struggled to scramble together a list in a lot of months last year, but this was a breeze. I could actually go to a top 10 of okay things without too much trouble at all, but I'm being a little pickier than that here, so let's get into it. Number 7. Malignant Aura, Where All of Worth Comes to Wither. Malignant Aura are an Australian death doom band which haven't got their sound quite figured out just yet, but I also don't know if I really want them to. What I mean by this is that a lot of the appeal itself is in how confused it is. They move between kind of sad, epic melodic doom, to angry and mean death metal, to happy time, bouncy, party death doom. This leads to the songs being quite unpredictable and interesting in their messiness, but it is absolutely not well refined. The problem is, if they refine it all down and pick a lane, it'll stop being messy and interesting, and while they're fine at all the styles, I don't see a whole lot to suggest they're ever going to do any of them at a mind-blowing level. The melodic side is comfortably the most well-realised with the dueling sad lead guitars, but I don't know if I really want an album of all that without all the heavier parts around it, even if I don't see them matching last year's Retardus in those parts. They're a band that needs to tighten up a bit to become something great, but also the main appeal is in the absent-minded drifting that they have going on, so yeah. They're not there yet, but I'm not sure they'll actually be better when they get there. Number 6. Invericund, Demo 2025. Invericund aren't beating the friendliest band on New Standard Elite allegations. They are technical, and they do have passages of very fast blasting and whatnot, but they're generally a very catchy, almost melodic band at times, and they mix it in with so many traditional death metal elements that it all comes across as quite playful and pleasant. The Exhume-type grooves are still there, and there's classic early death metal Slayer Evolution solos mixed in as well. They even do a full-blown Slayer cover to drive this point home. Honestly, I'm not sure if a full length from these guys will hold up for me all that well, since it is all just a bit of silly lighthearted fun, but in these little 10-minute bursts, I'm having a really good time with them. Number 5. Degenerate Synapse, Battle for the Mind. This is some pretty crazy, technical and diverse death grind that sounds like 3 bands taking turns, and I like 2 of them. One side of them is just super aggressive grind, and they can absolutely rip when they want to. The heaviest parts of this are some of the most extreme stuff I've heard all year. They have extremely big sounding blasts, and with the discordant and noisy touches of their second style, it gives them a really unhinged and violent streak that I strongly resonate with. Their second thing is a very dissonant, techy and noisy type of grind. It's still delivered with that raw violence-minded production, but they'll have all these mathy, scraping and jittering noise aspects coming in and a lot of weird, jerky timings. This is definitely the smallest part of their sound, but it bleeds into the others a lot and gives something arty to an overall sound which is otherwise largely fairly pissed off and lug-headed. That lug-headedness is sadly very commonplace in their third face, which is a lot more of a beatdown or classic metalcore type of slowdown and chug type of thing, and it's just not my jam. It does fit well with the dynamics, and the noisy touches coming across from Style 2 are a welcome addition, but yeah, it just isn't what I'm here for. Sadly, the vocals pair mostly up with this, and I find their decipherable shouting style to be pretty unpleasant. Otherwise though, this is pretty hard, very dynamic, and really quite good.
Widening the gap.
Number 4, Invictus, Nocturnal Visions. I really like the fast stuff here, which is a shame because 3/4 of the album is mid-paced chugging. Invictus are a Japanese death metal band which plays quite thrashy death metal, but do it with a super fat production which feels more suited for something cavernous or maggot-stompy mosh groovers. It's interesting to hear this kind of bottomed-out sheer mass tone applied to something which is usually thinner to give it a brisker type of feel. It's definitely not unique or fresh material, but the clash between the production and the riffs being these choppy, fleet-footed thrash-derived things does feel pretty novel. It's like hearing Coffins trying to play massacre riffs. Of course, that is only one part of their sound, and the main bulk of it is probably why they opted for the extra beefy production, since they're largely upper mid-pace moshes. They do maintain the riff focus on it, so there isn't that many outright placeholder type grooves, and they keep a lot of the extra detailing intact. It's just not as exhilarating as it is when they're going at 260 beats per minute. At any rate, it'll absolutely be near the top of the table for meat and potatoes death metal for the year. Number 3, Stabbing, Aeon of Obscenity. Man, imagine being so attractive that you manage to get your band that sounds like this onto Century Media. Hopefully the fact this is so far up here shows that I'm joking about label politics and not being a cretin, but if not, hey, the channel's still small, so I'll probably get away with it. Thankfully, the major label hop hasn't really resulted in any noticeable compromises to Stabbing's music. They're a very intense, pretty grounded, brutal death metal band that's kind of like a neater, more easily grooved on Disgorge meets like Molested Divinity. They do have an impressive high end for speed, and technical chops are really good when they want them, but they mostly stick to their choppy, higher, middle-paced grooves and a lot of moshing, but don't lean into it too excessively. They've kept their production really authentic despite the clear budget. Bridget is absolutely a top-level vocalist and has stepped up with a few new techniques this time around. On a few tracks it sounds like they have fucking Polwark doing his Predator purring clicking vocals on it. It's nuts. They're just a really damn good band. I do prefer my Brutal Death to be a little bit more unhinged and noisy, but as far as meaty mosh death goes, they're absolutely one of the best going around. Brutal and catchy good times. Number 2, Fossilization, Advent of Wounds. Fossilization's debut was sitting somewhere in my top 20 of 2023, and this one is right up with it. It's maybe a little bit cleaner, and I think the dirtiness works best with this type of music, but it's still excellent stuff. It's kind of hard to explain why these guys are so good. They're basically doing caverncore, but they're not boring. Sure, it's easy to say this because they can pick right up into a dead congregation tempo when they want to, so that must be it. But the riffs themselves never really become anything other than a churning vibration, so it's not like they're only flirting with the style. It's all nebulous, gloomy, tremolo fuzz all the way down. I think it all just comes down to their songwriting chops. All their songs are pretty short for the style, they generally won't run over 5 minutes, and in those periods they'll drift between outright doom and blistering blasted sequences. They'll shift the churn from being a massive wall of weight for sheer violence factor into these epic, almost melodic sections where they never leave the cave, but let you see how big the hole really is. They'll do some quick little dissonant highlights or chuggier interruptions just to break things up. The songs jump around these techniques in variable orders, which avoids feeling formulaic in ways that always still make flowing sense. There's just a lot of actual composition to what they do. This type of band usually eschews that in place of pure vibes and atmosphere. And they are absolutely the songiest caverncore band I have ever heard. As such, it's a bit hard to sample, since the overall composition is what's so strong rather than a 10-second burst, but here we are. Number 1, Gibbeting, Execution Rampage. And while we're on the topic of riffless things I like, we have Gibbeting, a gore-grinded Brodequin-style band featuring members of about 75 brutal death groups which just want to go really, really fast. The drums are programmed, but they have a glorious ping snare sample, and it's just a wonderful onslaught of sheer pinging speed and mush. As such, there's really not a whole lot to say here. I like it when the snare goes ping, and I like all the noisy backing grumbling. It's just a style that I really like, and the intensity is way up, and that's enough for me to have an excellent time. They handle the slams well for this type of band, which is a nice touch. They're genuinely quite groovy and fun, and give the brain a little bit of time to reset before returning to blast gurgle mode. This is the entirety of the release. There is nothing else at any time. So that's 2 months down. Hopefully these lists will stay this easy to fill with neat stuff for the rest of the year, because this has been a really solid one thus far. I'd like a few more heavy hitter top liners for sure, but we've already got a bunch of good music. As for the channel, obviously I did get out my mega new standard elite video after like 6 months of working on it, and it promptly bombed harder than anything else I've ever made. I guess maybe the thumbnail, unclear title, or very narrow appeal topic may have killed it, but maybe it could just be all the gore cover arts which got it buried, even if I edited out all the worst of it. In the interest of science, my next video is going to be another brutal death one, mostly just to test out how it goes if the video has no vile stuff in it at all. But anyway, I'll see you guys for that one, unless that one also bombs, in which case I'll see you guys for the March one of these.